I'm not in your committee. We're in committee. You need your committee to make a second. And then youth council. Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate everyone coming out tonight. It's so nice to have a full house and to have all of our youth council here tonight. We very much appreciate it. And thanks for our parents and family members for making this a priority on a Tuesday night. We very much appreciate it. Myself and Sherry were able to come Saturday to hang out with the kids for a little bit, with Dr. Shanice Chris kind of leading the way. And the world's going to be okay if these kids are in charge. So you're doing a great job, parents. So we very much appreciate you letting them come and spend time with us. So we will just kick off with our youth council presentation. We have council member Shanice Chris, and I will let her take it from here.
Okay, thank you so much for being here. Your kids are amazing. They have great ideas. They were so attentive, respectful, professional. You go, parents, okay? And so what we're going to do, they actually looked at the master plan for the city of Travelers Rest, and it talked about our key elements and our core challenges. And so they have some suggestions they'd like to provide for council tonight. And I'm a parent, so when your child is up here, feel free to come in front and take a picture. That's okay, okay? If you want to do that, go for it. And so we have 5 groups. Each group has a total of 1 minute, and they picked representatives to talk about their ideas. So I would like to have group 1 come, and I am using my timer like we did last time because we have a full agenda tonight. And this is how we do it. Thank you so much. And could you all say your names? Let's start off with that.
Hi, I'm Henry.
My name, my name's John Elliott.
And my name's Emmeline Johnson.
I'm Cooper.
All right, thanks. And I'm starting your time now.
Okay, so first, I think the city should have more bike lanes. There are a couple right in front of City Hall, but I think there should be more throughout the city because I like to ride my bike a lot, and I know a lot of people do. And while there should be a specified space for riding the bikes, the sidewalks you can run into pedestrians, and the road is not safe because it's a road.
All right, thanks. 30 seconds.
I think there should be more bike programs, maybe for kids who can't afford bikes, or just teaching them how to ride a bike.
We also think that TR needs an arts and craft kids program. This plan would aim to gather kids of all ages to create art for the city of TR and to preserve the small town feel. These statues, murals, and creations are all made by children in Travelers Rest. This profit can go towards bike lanes, trail etiquette, free bikes for people less fortunate, and riding lessons. Thank you for your time.
Perfect.
Great. Good job, guys. Thank you.
Group 2.
Hi, my name is Sage Chris.
Hi, my name is Alora Lurcy.
Hi, my name is Skyland Baskins.
And I'm Colin Gaida.
All right, your time starts now.
So the Swamp Rabbit Trail is an important part of Travelers Rest. Like, everyone loves it. But I have a problem with it. Like, there's bikers, they always run into pedestrians. Well, not always. So I had an idea that we could expand the trail a little bit and split it into 3 lanes. One for bikers going one way, bikers going another way, and pedestrians. Then we could mark it with either paint, reflectors, or like little lights that turn on at night. But that would be really expensive, so here.
All right, 30 seconds.
I would also like to say that as a biker and a walker, I do run into a lot of problems with walking into people or not walking into people, walking into bikes or it makes it really uncomfortable and unsafe.
Thank you for your time.
Okay.
Oh, wait, are y'all finished? Okay, say it.
And also, make sure there's programs for like litter on the trail. So like after Hurricane Helene, like rocks and branches and other stuff, so we can have a cleaner trail.
All right.
Thank you for your time.
Group 3. Group 3. Your names, please. Yes.
My name is Jackson Guth.
My name is Autumn Mancuso. My name is Jay Johnson.
My name is Declan Branley.
All right, your time starts now.
Okay. So one thing I thought that we should have is like a bike club, because it not only gives the people the chance to like socialize, but it's also a great exercise, and we have a really nice trail that we can use for it. And also, I think we should also have more trees and flowers, because it not only makes the town more beautiful, but also gives better air quality, and it looks nice. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackson. We also think adding a basketball court and or disc golf would be a good addition to Trailblazer Park, as well as adding a possible history program so that people can learn about TR and where they live. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Group 4. I'll start with your names, please.
My name is Perry Gross.
My name is Mary Kate Higgins.
My name is Charlotte Cheats. I would like to propose a balanced ratio for big corporations like Walmart and McDonald's to small community-owned businesses like Flop Shop or Chora Alley. This would keep the small town feel for everyone who knows everyone without keeping the city in too small a town.
Thank you. A big expense is maintenance from city-owned public works. To help this, I think that a sponsorship program or fundraisers between multiple businesses within TR would help to cover the cost, would help tremendously. This would put the pressure off of taxes to get things like the water pipes and roads cared for. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. And
Want
group.
him to say his name? I think we
Oh,
must.
yes, let's
Our
get your
individual
name.
in green. Yeah. We don't want to leave you out.
My name is Ben Guth.
Thank you, Ben.
We're missing a member, but that's okay. So,
Your names.
I'm Callie Rogers.
I'm Andy Gonzalez.
Thanks.
I would like to start off by saying thank you for having us tonight. This is like a great experience, and I love this so much. I think we need a Culver's. Just to put it shortly, Culver's is such a great restaurant. Everybody else wants Dairy Queen, but Culver's is so awesome. And then an Aldi would also be great. We shop at Aldi a lot, and having to drive down to Cherrydale, it's just a little bit difficult. So an Aldi would help.
I think that children should be able to do town care at least once a month to help the community at all, like in any way possible. Picking up trash, helping businesses around downtown or anything like that.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
So I am just so proud of them. They have amazing ideas. I also want to just say thank you for the city for supporting this Youth Council Academy, our city administrator, Shannon Herman. I also want to thank Beth, who's also taking pictures and does wonderful communications and helped in so many ways. Thank you to the mayor and council member, Sherry. Mira. Sorry, I just had a brain thing. And thank you to council for being so supportive. Everybody has just been so excited about this. So it's amazing. So what we're going to do, they learned about council committees. They're going to stay for a few committees. And then right after, let's see which committee, after Planning and Development Committee, we'll give out the certificates. Then we have Ways and Means, but that's a long meeting tonight. So you could decide whether or not you'd like to stay, but we wanted them to be here for a few of our committee presentations. Thank you.
And Shanice, I know we had, I think, our late student arrive, so I don't know if you would like to come up and say your name. Did I see her pop in? Yeah, hey, you want to come up and say, I'm not sure if you had a part, but if you wanted, okay, you want to do it real quick? Is that okay, Shanice? Yeah. Okay, great.
Your name first.
My name's Adeline Barnett, and I said, sorry. How could a Culver's develop TR? It would meet everyone's dessert desires and would add another restaurant to TR. Allowing you to have dinner and get a dessert. It would also add opportunities to bring in income revenue through taxes and operating expenses.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
As a point of order, I'm completely down with the Culver's.
Me
idea.
too. Those hamburgers are good. Okay. All right. We have been charged with bringing one to TR. So when it happens, we're all going to go have a party together when it comes together. So thank you guys so much. You're all invited. All invited. Yeah, I remember Dairy Queen. Dairy Queen and Culver's were our two popular asks. And so I think also what's really comforting is hearing all of your notes and comments. It's a lot of the things that are aligned with our council priorities to grocery stores and quality of life and the Swamp Rabbit Trail. So we really appreciate that. And I'm sure we'll have a plan of action to be able to flow back through you guys so you can actually see. And I will let you know when I reach out to Culver's and talk to the general manager and see if they can come to TR. So we'll do our best there. Thank you so much. All right, well, we are going to jump into our committee meetings. And for those that are here, so we have committee meetings. We all meet at large, but each one has their individual committee. And then we have another meeting the following week after we've kind of had time to consume this information. And then we have our more formal council meeting, which you might be used to, of more of the yays and nays. And so tonight you get to hear more of discussion from our committees, and we usually have our city staff here as well that can help answer questions for us. So first we will start with our Public Works Committee. Chair Lane is not here tonight, and so we will have Co-Chair Sherry lead the Public Works discussion.
Thank you, everybody. Motion to approve October 7th Public Works minutes. Motion. Second. And then we'll review the report. So Philip, do you have anything that you want to bring to our attention first?
Just a couple of highlights. Good evening, everyone. We have a total of 11 trees on Main Street that's going to have to be replaced, and I'll be working with Jay to get the selection types in a couple of weeks to get those replanted once we get some information back. We're in the process of selecting a contractor for debris cleanup on city-owned streets. That's going out in RFP tomorrow. So hopefully we'll get that back pretty quick and make a selection and move forward with that process. Also in the report, you'll find a summary of the glass recycling event that took place back in October. I think it was on the 19th. We had a total of 75 cars come through the event with a total of 6,000 pounds of glass, and that was really astounding to the provider there. You know, we were kind of hoping for maybe 1,000, 1,500 pounds, and he ended up, you know, we had to cut it off because his trailer couldn't hold anymore. We do have one tentatively scheduled for the last Saturday in November. That'll coincide with a market, farmers market. We're working with them to get a location over there for the vendor to set up for the drop off, and we'll be announcing that hopefully next week once we finalize that. We have rescheduled the shred event. There was a miscommunication with the service provider there, and they will be back on December 7th at Trailblazer Park from 9 to 12. That has been
7th?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. December 7th from 9 to 12. We started this week putting up Christmas decorations, and that will continue probably till the week of Thanksgiving. You know, we'll have all those up, and David and Scott and the team's working diligently to get that done. Mountain Laurel Garden Club changed out the plants and the planters at the gazebo last week. You know, that partnership with them has been a tremendous asset for the city, and you know, the volunteers that they bring in and the work they've provided there has been greatly appreciated. TR Garden Club will be helping us with the downtown decorations this year. I think they're actually going to come in and decorate the lobby for us, and we'll be setting up some things, and they'll be volunteered to do that. We're actually meeting with them on Friday, Beth and I, to kind of get that finalized and get that moving forward. So that's all I have at this time.
I have a question. The contract you're working on for debris cleanup, is that going to be reimbursed with FEMA?
We will apply for that reimbursement. The FEMA has put it out there that it will be 100% reimbursement for the first 90 days of cleanup and any, any bills associated to the storm. We will be submitting that, but we don't have a time frame of when they're going to accept that or when we'll be receiving that reimbursement.
So if it doesn't get done in 90 days, will they, as long as they?
They're, at this point, I think it drops down to a percentage. They'll cover a percentage of it after 90 days. I don't know. That may change a little bit down the road. I don't know. I don't know. There's still a lot of debris out there to be cleaned up.
Are we still well within our 90-day period?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're, the 90 days will be sometime the latter part of December.
Councilmember James, if I might add in, the RFP will allow us to have a contractor ready to go at any time we need them. So the work that's been done to date, we are applying for reimbursement, and Philip and Sergeant Brown and also firefighter Scott have done an amazing job collecting that. That's an immense task. But this will allow us to have someone on staff so that we can move quickly via a contract that's already gone through procurement. We're well within standards.
That's great. Good. Philip, I was just going to ask to get your update on the pavilion and the third swing. I know a lot of questions have been asked as far as like what's going on.
We are working at the gazebo. The gazebo is actually getting repainted this week. I have contacted a provider out of Hendersonville on the swing there, and we're waiting to get some renderings back. They don't carry exactly the swing that we have at this point, so I'm working with them, and they were down, they were hit pretty hard by the storm, so I was just able to reconnect with them last week.
Right.
So we're working on that.
Okay.
Yep.
Does anyone else on council have any questions?
Philip, if you had to pick a timeline for when we would have the debris picked up, what would you guess? Like if residents, just setting some expectations for them. A month, 2, 3?
To completely remove all the debris in the city, you're probably looking at 3 months.
Okay. I think it's just helpful
And I
to
think
know.
it'd be of worth note that, I don't know if it was the majority, but it would be close to the majority of the streets in the city are state streets, state roads.
Mhm.
And so that's going to be a whole different dynamic, correct, Philip?
That is correct, sir. Back to what Councilman McCall there was speaking of, probably, I'm going to say 80%, maybe even more of the streets inside the city limits of Travelers Rest are owned and maintained by the South Carolina Department of Transportation. So they have their FEMA contractor. They're all around us, but I've been told that they'll hit the neighborhood streets on the last. One good thing is I did confirm last week that they will be making 2 full passes on the debris collection. So that we have the debris cleanup for us is going to be on the city-owned streets. And we have about 6 streets that were hit pretty hard. And we've got those listed out on the RFP that will be going out for bid.
Great. Well, thank you so much. For those that are TR and live in city limits, everybody's been really patient, but it'd just be nice to kind of know. Thank you.
May I suggest also that along with what Wayne is talking about, it might be good for us to note on our webpage and maybe even the app also
Good idea.
exactly what's going on, because if we don't, we're going to have people that are mad that their street's not picked up and the street next to them was.
It's like, well, I live in the city, but you don't live, you live on a state road, you know, and there's a huge difference there. There's a whole different,
Whole different
dynamic with
dynamic.
dealing with DOT as opposed to dealing with what we can control. We can only control what we can control. We can't control DOT. And so, that's a great idea, Grant.
I'll make a note of that, and I'll get with Beth, and we'll get something posted on the website. Okay.
See, look,
Good
done. That's what we do. We make
Coming on to me.
suggestions that are already happened. Yeah.
That's a
Thank
great
you,
idea.
Beth.
Thank you, Beth.
Yeah.
Motion to adjourn? Motion? Second?
All right, now we will move into our public safety. Thank you, Philip. And this is our Director of Public Works, Philip Tate. So thank you very much. Public Safety Committee Chair Byers.
I call to order the Public Safety Committee for November 12th. Present are myself, Shanice Chris, Wayne McCall, Sherry Mara, and Brantley Vest. Do we have a motion to approve the October 7th Public Safety minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Great, thank you. Okay, and we will review the October Public Safety report, starting with the Police Department. Nice to see you walking.
Good to be walking again. Thank you. It
And
really
this is the chief of our police department.
It's good to be walking again and driving. Thank you.
Any highlights from the police report?
Just one. I know there's a motor vehicle collision page. There's a 200% increase in motor vehicle collisions with injury. We certainly hope that's not a trend, but an anomaly. Overall, this year, motor vehicle collisions with injuries are down 25% for the year. I think we had a bad month, and I'm certainly hoping that's what it is. And we will continue to enforce traffic laws, so we can slow those people down and hopefully avoid those collisions. So,
Was there a trend and cause of these collisions?
I'd have to research the exact reasons for each one, and I don't have that in front of me now, but I can get that for you. But certainly, we hope that's a trend, and I'll have that information for you later on this month.
Does anyone on the committee have questions for Chief Ford?
Kind of along the same lines, I'd be interested to know if it's like a certain area, intersection, traffic time, as far as if it's isolated.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'll get all that data on those specific 12 and then have that for you. And maybe I can get it emailed to you, you all, by the end of this week. How about that?
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
And that may give me some direction on where we can focus some more efforts too. Absolutely. I would like to also mention that we have a new officer that started. His name is Jacob Grogan. He's not here tonight, but I will introduce him to you hopefully at the council meeting later this month. And we had 2 officers recognized by the TR Police and Fire Foundation. Recognized, one was Corporal Taylor Harrelson for a quarter of work. He was recognized for his work for the city, and also Officer Rashawn Barksdale was recognized. And that was a meeting last week that was held at the fire department. So we just wanted to recognize them. And if you don't have any more questions, I'll be happy to take that. If we don't have any questions, then I'm going to turn it over to my officer, Wayne Kraft, and he has a little presentation for you guys tonight.
Does anyone on council have questions about the report? Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I'm
Hello.
Officer Kraft. I've been here for about 3 years working at Travelers Rest. My goal tonight is to show you the future of Travelers Rest with LPR systems, which is a license plate reader. We do have 2 vehicles right now that are equipped with license plate readers. Within the first 7 days of us having those vehicles on the road, we had ran over 30,000 tags. And in those 30,000 tags, we had run right about 3,000 suspended tags, and included in that is stolen tags and stolen vehicles. So we talked with Motorola to see if they could let us test out some equipment. They did give us a quick deploy camera. I did give each one of you a brochure of some pictures. The quick deploy camera is going to be the small camera. Those we can take down at any point and reposition those if we're having like high traffic areas with accidents. We can tell why those are having accidents. We get all those tags. It will also help with crimes. Some of the other cameras that you'll notice through that packet are mounted mobile units. Those mounted mobile units can be mounted to any of our speed trailers and placed throughout the city and the medians. And they will pick up any tag that comes through that has been registered in NCIC or in the state for stolen, suspended license, no insurance. If you look on the other page, there is a trailer that is fully equipped. We're hoping that we can get those cameras and equip our speed trailer to help our officers on the road be more light on their feet when we have calls for like shoplifting or an assault and they flee the scene. We'll be able to track all those vehicles through all this information. If you'll flip to the next page, there's a why to adopt these license plate recognitions. Those 3 points are to find more wanted vehicles of interest, get those criminals off the road so our city can be safe, so these kids can get out here and ride bicycles safely. Another one is to close cases faster. So if we have missing children, kidnapping, assaults, if we go up to the worst of them all, like murder, we'll be able to track those down through having those cameras throughout the city. If you'll keep flipping, there is a photo of the software we use and how it pops up on each one of our computers. Each officer will, within the next 2 weeks, have it on their cell phones. And they can take their cell phone out and scan as they're walking through the Walmart parking lot. And it'll let them know if any of those tags are stolen, suspended. A great thing we can also do is, if we have the cameras throughout the city, we can also do a mapping grid. And in that mapping grid, we can select a 90% position where that vehicle is going to be at what time of the day. Judging by how many times it passes through that camera, it maps the entire city for us. And Greenville County will have access to that to assist their agency also. If you go to the next page, there's a couple graphs. In these graphs, within the 7 days, we had the mounted pole camera and the trailer on 25 in front of Bojangles. We did have 202,000 tags run just in that 7-day period. Within that, there was 5,441 tags that come back suspended and stolen and with no insurance. I did provide some more information on the next couple pages. These are just a comparison from last year for all of our citations, crimes, DUIs, so y'all could see the increase and decrease in the numbers. I would like to come back and then give y'all an exact number if we do get the cameras, so I can show you how much these cameras are helping officers with defeat this crime on the streets. I do have a couple slides that show from the state with close police departments with us where they have had success through these cameras. And if you'll look up at the TVs behind you, there are a couple of these stories.
They have them in front of them too.
Oh, okay. And you can And in these slides, you can see that they had murder suspects they had arrested after an LPR investigation. Those investigations can take weeks usually without LPRs, but with the LPRs, we can track them down to their exact position, usually if we have the city mapped out like we're wanting. So the stolen vehicles, that's a big thing. Just last night, we had 15 stolen tags come through the city at Walmart. And that was just us sitting there running traffic for 45 minutes. Some of those vehicles, due to the traffic and the population of the city, we can't catch them because we can't get through that traffic to catch that vehicle due to keeping the safety of the others in the community. We'll go to the video. You can play it. So this is a video of a police department, I believe in Illinois, that has set up the cameras exactly where we would like them, and it maps out the entire city, and they give you like a full success story of how these cameras has helped their city and their crime units and their traffic units. Thank y'all for your time.
Any questions or anything?
Yeah, so was this, we borrowed cameras for a couple days to test it out? And
Yes, the company gave us, just allowed us to use them to see how it worked and then, and show us the results, and then we, you know, they've taken them back now, I believe.
Everyone except the speed trailer.
And so how does it work? Like if it's collecting so many license plates a minute, how does that information
So
get back to you for
The first day
action?
we set it up on a farmer's market afternoon, and it was total chaos on 25 when we set it up. Our reads were coming back about 15 minutes late, but once we got it caught up, now within 3 seconds, it's responding to our cars and our cell phones with the alerts of what type of alert it is. There are 3 stages of alerts. It's like a green, yellow, and red. If you get into a red alert, that's usually when you're going to need a backup officer, because it's either going to be a stolen car and you're going to have to do a felony traffic stop. If it's a green, that green's usually like suspended license because they went longer than 12 hours with no insurance.
So are you within a certain range of the cameras so that you
ma'am.
can respond
So
quickly?
I can be anywhere in the country,
Mm.
and that camera can ping my car or my cell phone.
Well,
like
okay,
that.
just help me understand like the benefit of the scanning if it identifies a stolen car and you're not on the street that they're passing, like, you know, someone on duty can go
Yes, ma'am.
chase
Usually
that
we
car.
have somebody
or-
on the main
Mhm.
road where the
Mhm.
trailer's set up. Right now, it's set up right in front of Wendy's
Mhm.
in the grass median on 25. And usually we have officers working traffic at State Park and 25. That way we can slow down a lot of the accidents that's occurring right there.
Mhm.
So it works as like a force multiplier. And if we have 3 officers working, we can usually dedicate one to working a traffic, some traffic enforcement, if we're not too busy. So that officer can simply go there, and I equate it to, you know, shooting fish in a barrel. It's going to tell you which cars or have improper plates or stolen and whatnot. The good thing about that is we can enforce that by issuing citations, which force them to then pay their taxes to get their tag current, which filters money back into the city and the county of those that had not paid with the tag suspended. So we use that, it just makes it easier. So there might be 5 cars around him, and he doesn't know which one to suspend. This just tells him that. So by having the fixed locations around, fixed cameras, we can cover large portions of the city, and when a crime occurs, we can also watch that car leave and see where it goes to try to catch that person. We have had crimes in the past that we wish we had these, that we have been unable to solve. Luckily for us, they haven't been serious crimes, but we look at it and say, is it worth the time that we spend out there enforcing the traffic laws? And by sitting there, we can write 3 times the amount of citations if necessary, or get 3 more people to pay their taxes in order to get their tax straight.
How many unsolved cases do we have?
Well, thousands.
Like in the past 3 years?
Probably thousands.
Really?
Sometimes there's just not enough evidence there. There's one I think about, this only a petty larceny type case, but it happened at the high school one night. I was there at the high school working a side job, John Alsop and I were, and they had the money box at the very front of the high school. And a guy came in, looked around, nobody was watching the money box, grabbed the money and left. We're all around the area, couldn't find him. Found out later that the car left. We found a camera that saw a car leaving that we couldn't get to. That would be one where hopefully it would capture that tag, and then we would have some evidence to go on. As far as cases, there's lots of cases out there that there's just no evidence to follow up on. You know, usually minor crimes. We have no major crimes unsolved. So none of the felony crimes that are unsolved right now.
So where are we in this process? I mean, is it something you're talking about, something I know you've been using it. So, have you bought any yet? Are you having in the budget? Are there grants available?
Councilman McCall, I'll be happy to jump in there.
All right, go
You're jumping ahead of my presentation, but we do have it in, the budget amendment request tonight. So we wanted to present to you kind of the field trial, some of the opportunities at hand, and then we will present to you a request to begin this. We're going to start small with 2. We're going to start small so that we can really hone in on the traffic and have a traffic officer ready and waiting for some of the issues that pop up with them. And then we'll build the
Well,
program out from
The
there.
last part of that question was, are there grants available for this that would help assist with it?
And Councilman McCall, Chief Ford did apply for a grant. We were in the waiting, and we did hear we didn't get that grant. But that doesn't mean we're not going to put in additional grant requests. We thought we could kick it off with 2, demonstrate some productivity with it, and then reapply with those kind of statistics behind us.
I have 2 follow-ups. Is this data saved, and if so, how long? Or is it just a one-time? So y'all have access to this information for 2 years? Okay.
We can run back to a certain time of the day if we
Mhm.
need to.
Okay.
All the way, like say if we had a worse month, like the wrecks, like Chief was telling you
Mhm.
about, run that for that month and see why it was occurring.
Okay. And the other question, are we required or is it recommended that the public is notified that there's cameras?
There's no requirement.
Okay.
There's no recommendation that I've heard from other agencies doing that or not.
Right.
Such as, Greenville City with cameras downtown. Greenville County has lots of these flock cameras. There's actually one of those flock cameras on the speed trailer by Furman that they have up.
Mhm.
So there's no requirement of notification or recommendation.
Okay. And is this the same or correlated to like the red light alerts if someone runs a red light? Or is this a separate entity as far as,
This is separate. We actually don't have cameras. We can't issue tickets. for
those are
running-
separate cameras, did you?
Yeah, those are DOT
specifically?
cameras that are
Okay.
on those lights, and they do not record.
Okay.
DOT cameras only, they can look on their monitors and see if there's an issue at that intersection, but they do not record according to what they've told me.
A separate entity. Okay.
Correct.
Chief, question, if I pay my insurance and I'm not a felon, I mean, are you building a profile on everyone?
No. We've got we'll have, what was it, 400 in the first so many thousand?
You're
We're
not
worried about those
holding
400. We're not
wide
worried about
mass data, but if you see 5,000, I'm assuming this is not 5,000 unique individual vehicles with suspended license. Are you using that pattern recognition to proactively? I think that the thing that's good for all of us is if there are fewer people on the street that have no insurance, that's a general good for all of us. And so would this be like a proactive measure? Would you use this proactively?
If we had a specific vehicle that was, we had a silver car, I won't go in the make and model at one time, that was committing lots of crimes around, and we just couldn't catch it at times. If we had a certain situation like that, we may go proactively and search that tag and see where it's going to solve a crime. But you're looking at less than 5% of the time we would do something like that.
So like just in your example, you've got it on your cell phone. You're walking through the parking lot of Walmart and someone has a suspended license or a tag that's suspended. Are we just hanging out waiting on them to get done shopping? And
So usually if like we catch them coming out with groceries, ask them about it and just see. Because out of 100% of the vehicles that we've stopped for the suspended tags, I want to say right at 65% of them
yeah,
have just fixed it.
yeah.
Update it, it'll still show right now, and then I have to go in and mark it that it's fixed.
Okay.
Once I show that, I'll just tell them.
Yeah. It seems like a great tool, a little dystopian, but.
And by the way, having a suspended tag on your vehicle is not the actual crime if it's sitting. It's operating the vehicle with a suspended tag. So in most instances, we can say, your tag's suspended, and if they say, yes, I haven't gotten it fixed, we'll say, you don't need to drive it, and then we'll give them that verbal advice to fix it. We're not just going to issue citations to every single person. What it does do is it does help us realize how much is coming through the city.
Yeah, almost seems overwhelming.
Yeah, and there's no way we can stop everyone, that every hit that we get, there's just no way to do that, but the important part to it is having the tool to assist us with the job, making it a little bit easier to solve some more crimes.
Yeah, cool, thank you.
Chair Byers, I'm not on this committee, but may I ask a couple questions?
I'll allow it.
Know that this data is saved. Is this saved in the cloud? I mean, is this going to be more cloud storage that we're going to have to buy over time because it's going to accumulate?
So it depends on which company we go with. There are two factors here. One is you buy cameras and you pay yearly maintenance fees or storage fees. There are another company that everything's leased. So you pay one flat fee per year per camera and everything's included. So it just depends on that. Now, with the amount of cameras, if we start with 2 cameras and then we have the 2 that are going now, it's going to be minimal expense of maybe a couple $1,000s a year. And that, when it's stored up to 2 years, and then it rewrites over. So we won't be storing it, having that cloud storage, having to increase it. It just rewrites over it.
Okay. The second is this the same system? I know that Greenville County Sheriff's Department is running tag readers also. Is this the same type of system that they're using or something completely different? Because they don't have stationary cameras anywhere, do they?
Oh, they have them all over the
Oh,
county.
do they really?
All
Okay, I
over.
didn't realize
Yeah,
that.
literally all over.
They use a company called Flock, which we are looking into along with Motorola. We've checked into 4 companies, and these are 2. Flock and Motorola are 2 that we're looking at.
So is this something then, if the Sheriff's Department is using it, does the Sheriff's Department work with, actually, let me ask, are there any other cities within Greenville County that are running this system?
Yes, Malden and Simpsonville, I know run it.
Okay.
I'm not sure if Greer does or not.
Does Greenville County work with those cities, or those cities work with Greenville County also on the aspect of?
So all of them work in a connected website. And if Greer has a car from us that we entered, and then they run it in their tag reader, it'll pop up for TR, and then it'll alert us, hey, this vehicle's been stopped, you can take this alert off of it.
We can see all the alerts for every agency that runs these cameras. If we use the same camera system, we can see all those same cameras. Now, Flock is kind of a regional corporation out of Atlanta. They're not huge yet, but they're pretty popular in South Carolina, in Georgia. The system we're talking about is Vigilant through Motorola. It's the nation's largest LPR system. So, those are some things that we just have to look at and see what best financially to go if we do that. So.
Good, thank you.
Philosophical question for you. To what extent do we need to be searching for negative activity?
I would say, well, you definitely don't want the activity in the city. So if they continue to come, I think we need to address that and let them know that, if you're going to come to the city, you need to have your correct registration, your correct tag, and I think it's educating and fixing the problem rather than just punishing. Because when we do write tickets for suspended tags and suspended licenses, if they get that fixed and they come in here before court and show the officer, we dismiss the case and they go on. So it's about corrective action.
Just a question, if you pull someone over without insurance, you can't let them drive, right?
Correct. They cannot operate on the roadway. We have to tow the vehicle.
That's a state law.
Yes, yes. Does that answer your question?
Sure. Thank you. Does anyone else on the committee or council have questions? All right.
I have
thanks.
just one spoken. So depending on what service we use, in your opinion, what would be best as far as all-inclusive, like to work with cities, and/or does that cross over into other state lines and states if we use a larger service?
Yeah, that's a tough question to answer right now.
Baby steps. Yeah.
Yes, I like the larger system through Motorola, but those are conversations that city administrator and I have had, and we're continuing to have actually about these 2 different companies because, regional versus national. We're getting requests from Texas now for us to share our data with them. So all these agencies around the country, you just share your data with mutual aid agreements is all it's doing, and to benefit us, we just have to look and see what's financially feasible for us as a city starting out and see which direction to go, I think.
Thank you. Thank you.
Chair Byers, if I could interrupt real quick. So Officer Kraft is also our resident artist, and he has been working with the police department to redo our badges. So thank you for Officer Kraft and sharing his artistic skills. So when you see the new badge, you guys will know that this man has contributed to that. So thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, thanks.
You don't have to have a presentation.
That's okay. This is Assistant Chief Mac McMakin. So do you have anything to highlight from the fire report?
Nothing really from the fire reports. I mean, our call volume's about normal for the month. We did hit 1,200 calls today. So we'll be in the range of a little bit over 1,300 calls for this year, which will be up again. No rhyme or reason, still a lot of EMS calls. We're still having issues with timelines with getting ambulances. Last night, for instance, there was a call at the golf range. The when our engine got there, there was no ambulance assigned to the call. The family chose to take the young lady on to the hospital themselves just because there's no ambulance available. And those are not our issues, those are county issues. And I mean, they're doing everything they can do, but the call volume is just so big that they can't handle. I do have a couple of just quick other things. The Police and Fire Foundation, as Chief Ford said, we had a luncheon this past week. Chief Robertson they had a plaque for him and recognized for his 40 years of service to the city. We also had Christopher Scott was our employee that was recognized. He's, as the administrator said, he's been very vital in getting all this information ready for FEMA and a lot of other computer stuff that we do. He's just kind of my go-to guy when it comes to that. So he was our person. In events, I'm always big on the community risk and reduction. Just this past weekend, we attended and helped with the veterans thing for House Mortuary. We also had a funeral for a former assistant chief who was a volunteer assistant chief back in the 70s here at the city. His funeral was this past Sunday. We attended that along with the county honor guard.
Who was it?
Odell.
Oh, Reggie, yeah.
Reggie Odell, yes, sir. And we attended Fire Fest, which was put on by Slater Marietta Fire Department. But there was, I think, 7 or 8 departments from around the county that attended that. It was a festival that they have every year, so we attended that. Our yearly stuff, we're going to be ahead of time. Hopefully by the end of this month, all our yearly stuff will be done. We'll have a whole month to kind of back up and look and see if there's anything we need to do. But everything yearly we're supposed to do, we'll have done by the end of the month. Any
Does
questions?
anyone on the committee have questions for Mac? Anyone on council? All right, thank you, sir. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Shannon, is there anything you want to highlight on the building report or municipal court? It looks like building is pretty normal.
Chair Byers, I'll just highlight that we're a little slow right now. We're in that small period of time we'll have in between all the construction beginning with the new neighborhood. So we did have a little movement this month, but I expect it to pick up significantly at the beginning of next year.
Does anyone on committee have questions about building or municipal court? Anyone on council? All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Byers. And with that, we will pause. Thank you all for being so patient and holding out with us. And now adults and our students know, what do they do at those council meetings? We talk a lot and we think about things. So we appreciate you being so patient and holding out for us. I will pass over to Dr. Shanice Chris to continue our youth council festivities for the night.
So it's time for certificates. Thank you for your patience. Just so you know, afterwards, we're doing planning and development committee, ways and means, and personnel. You do not have to stay, but if you'd like to, you have that option, but it's also okay to go because I know y'all are in school. So now, for the
Yeah, sure.
Culver's due.
Well, he was dancing about the Culvers. Yeah.
Run.
Cool opportunity. Yeah.
Our future voters, right?
Yeah, that's right, that's right.
Yeah, see ya. Bye, see ya. Bye, guys. Thank you for coming.
Well, I have some ideas.
Oh, you need me?
But I'm glad to
Outstage.
That's the procedure.
No, I'm good, thank you.
She's feeling better now.
All right, we back online? We all good? Okay, awesome. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate it. And thank you for sticking around for us. I know sometimes our committee meetings go long and sometimes they're short, but all very purposeful. So appreciate everyone hanging out with us a little bit. Yeah, if we want to shut those doors. Might be getting some pictures out there.
Yeah.
All right, so now we're going to move into Planning and Development Committee. Chair Vest.
All right, call to order Planning and Development Committee meeting. Members present, myself, Brantley Vest, Grant Baumgardner, Kelly Byers, Dr. Shanice Chris, and Sherry Mara. Looking for a motion to approve our minutes from October 7.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. All right, Director Martin.
Pretty easy tonight. We had previously had the Hemlock Park. They've had a pre-design meeting with land development, so they'll be going through that process. They still need to get a site plan approval for the townhome portion, not townhome portion, the multifamily portion. So that'll be part of the process as they move forward. White Hawk Meadows and Spring Park both have their approval for final plats. So when we were talking about earlier in the building, permits stepping up, they're about to step up with those two coming online. We'll see a lot more coming from them. Refuge continues in construction, and then the Villas in North Valley is getting very close to finalizing land development, and they'll begin into construction really soon. Three things I wanted to report at the bottom. Two are just in passing, keep you informed. Working on the Dicey Langston Children's Garden. We have initial concept plans. We're continuing to work forward and see what momentum we have to keep that thing going and see where it grows and goes. And then we met with students from Clemson a little while back. They are doing a project out at Coleman Road where the parking would be for getting on a trail, entry trail there, and having an educational area there. So they'll be presenting in December what they come up with. The most important thing at the bottom here is Greenville County just accepted or is in the process of accepting their Unified Development Ordinance, UDO. Inside of our zoning ordinance, we reference the land development regulations over and over and over again. So our plan in moving forward is where it says LDR to replace it with UDO on the fly until we can make that change. That we believe that the fact that the UDO represents the LDR in the reading of that code as we move forward until we're able to change our ordinance. And Councilman Vest, I don't know if we need to accept or move to accept that so that we have it on the record that that's our understanding to kind of cover us as we move forward.
But there's no material change.
There's no
to
material
language
change.
there?
Basically, what we're saying right now is where it says LDR, we're going to operate that means UDO.
Gotcha. Do we have action here? I don't think so, right?
I don't think there's an action at this point. I think we would bring that through. Well, I think we would need more time to think about that, to be
Okay.
honest.
All right.
We can always action later.
Yes, let's plan to action at the next meeting if
All right.
needed.
Anything that comes up from here on out is going to refer to exactly as you're saying. We just need to go back and possibly interject this new language in our old.
I just didn't want to get
Correct,
down
but
the
we did not
road.
cite any action to come out of the committee tonight is my concern. So since we
Right.
didn't publish an agenda item,
Yep.
probably we just want to wait.
Yeah.
We just want to, I want to make sure we're in a place that if something comes up between now and the time that we have it approved, that the understanding is we're using them in, what's the word I'm looking for?
Interchangeably?
A synonym or
Synonymously?
whatever.
Mhm.
My speaking's not really that great. But anyway, so that we understand that that's what it kind of means until we are able to revise our code. too.
Anything we do would be temporary until it got changed permanently anyways, right? So, okay. Just want to make sure I'm on the same page.
But with that, any other questions you might have?
I have one. So, Pine Sol, I see on the development report, it's the residential piece of that is nearing about 90% completion. That feels right.
That's correct.
Any information on the commercial corridor? I know I saw some land moving up there, but
So the
are
land
they just
movement
meeting a deadline?
was up there, was them just moving the dirt and spreading it out.
Okay.
I did anticipate, and I have anticipated that we are supposed to be getting the final development plans for that. We have not yet.
Okay.
That is a little disappointing to me that we have not received the final development plans so that they can continue to move forward with the commercial areas, and that's what we're waiting for, is the development of those commercial areas, which in my opinion makes it mixed use, which is what we agreed to at the start of the project.
So, Hemlock Park,
Hemlock Park, yes, sir.
they're in the process of removing the mobile homes now?
No, they're not in the process of moving the mobile homes, as far as I know. I haven't seen any movement in those. They had a pre-design meeting, which is with land development, and which is required before they design and submit their construction plans. So they're in between in that process. One of the big things they have to do is send to me a site plan to be reviewed and approved for the multifamily portion. Has to meet the conditional uses that are within our RM zoning regulations.
Well, I mean, there's some missing over there, so.
Yeah.
I mean,
Quite a
I don't
few.
know if
Yeah,
they're
I
moving
mean,
them out, but there's some that are not there.
I think what they were doing is they gave a 12-month plus notification, and as residents are moving elsewhere, they're not putting new folks in. I think they are physically removing those that aren't occupied.
Okay. And I don't know that there's any permit or anything to remove.
I don't know about that.
Well, and I
Because
think
it's not
some of
really a
those-
demolition.
It just looks different in there, to Wayne's point. They are moving.
We've got a
some things
demo,
around.
Don't the residents own the,
Some
or
do, some don't.
right, yeah.
Some were
That's true.
leased. On the UDO thing, Greenville County, that's what we're speaking about, right?
Yes,
They're-
sir.
Okay, they only had one reading? They got to have three? They've had
Had-
two readings?
They've had 2 readings.
Yeah, so,
They've had two readings.
yes.
Both readings passed.
I believe so.
Both readings passed. Okay. In our, do we have to defer to that? Do we have to, or can we not use our own within our municipal limits?
You are really raising some questions that I'm beginning to ask and I'm not ready to answer at this time about our understanding of how we work. But right now, the way we work is where our zoning ordinance does not speak to something and the land development regulations do, then we abide by the land development regulations.
Right.
If they are in conflict with one another, it defers to us. So it's ultimately ours. And so I think the answer, I need to look more into it, but I think the answer is the more that we have written into ours to where ours would be more of a UDO, which is just the combination of zoning ordinance and land development regulations. The more we spoke to would put more of the bearing on us. But as we've had discussions, we also don't want to take on liabilities
Correct.
that we don't want to have responsibility for.
I agree with that.
That's the biggest thing, weighing those options out. We want to make sure that there are things, what we want to control, what we don't want to control, and what we don't want to take liability for down the road.
I think Wayne's point is a good one. Like, how many hoops should we jump through when the county just wants to, it seems arbitrary. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's very material, and then what do we have to do in response? That's a good question.
But there are things that we are currently looking at and bouncing back and forth. My brain is all over the place with it. And we have had some minor conversations about it and may come back with some conversations moving into the spring about how do we move forward and should there be any changes to ours accordingly.
In other words, to be as as compatible with the county as we possibly can? Is that what you're saying?
I think it limits our liability a lot.
I think there's the liability issue. I think there's the staffing and what can we handle in a timely manner with the expertise and professional backgrounds and all the subject material that goes in there. And then there's what is TR versus what is Greenville County. So I think at times there's opportunities to strengthen it to be TR oriented. And at times it would push a department of 1.5 when you count our intern to complete project material on time. And then you have to factor in what skill sets will we have, you know, should Jay ever decide to ride into the sunset, so.
Well, you know, and some of you may know this or may not know this, but the Greenville County lighting ordinance is copied verbatim, or was, from our original lighting ordinance. And so, I mean, what do? I mean, do we continue to do what we're doing? And just, or does just we, you know what I'm saying? You know, I mean, I'm not being difficult here, I'm just raising question. I mean, or do we just, you know, follow them lockstep? I mean, you know.
I think the answer, quite honestly, is gonna be, and all of that's philosophical, is that no, we won't follow them lockstep.
Yeah.
Because I think there's things that are more applicable. Greenville County is a huge county. So if we just took in to codes that deal with topography, well, the topography in south part of Greenville County is very different than ours.
Exactly.
And so the way we function is very different than other parts. So I would say that we keep the things that are very beneficial that we are in lockstep on, but let's take a real close look at maybe where we shouldn't be. But then, you know, before we present anything that way, we want to make sure that we don't take on something that overtaxes our ability to take it on.
It sounds like that we just need to do some additional research and conversation.
It's a lot of
within our
research.
staff level
Yep.
before we come to this point back to council.
You made a very good point, Jay. I mean, it's like you use topography. The area here is nothing like it is in Moonville.
No, it's not.
Or Princeton, you know, and so, I mean, it would be a moot point for us to follow in something that's in the southern part of the county, you know, as opposed to what we have here. Something we need to look at, I think.
Yeah, great discussion. Anyone on council have questions for Director Martin?
Jay, I was going to ask, I can't remember if we talked about it at a council level, but Watson Road or Watson Lane, we kind of discussed the townhomes and the road that kind of comes up like into their backyard and safety and maybe putting a guardrail of some kind. Do we have any updates on that?
Yes, I haven't followed through and we've had discussions about it and just need to follow up.
Okay, great. I just came the back
part-
way to City Hall and I was like,
Yeah.
it's still
The
a big
odder
deal,
part
yeah.
is it's actually their front yards.
Yeah, sorry.
Which makes it worse.
Mayor Amadon, actually, Philip has had discussions with SCDOT about meeting out there.
Okay,
So we
great.
talked about that last week. We just didn't get a chance to wrap Jay in. Sorry, Jay.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate it, great.
Great. If no other questions, we'll look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion. Thanks, Jay.
Thank
All
you.
right, Ways and Means Committee Chair Bumgarner.
All right, I call Ways and Means Committee to order. Myself, Kelly Byers, Wayne McCall, Brantley Vest are all present. Lisa Lane is not with us tonight. I would entertain a motion for approval of the Ways and Means minutes from October 7th.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Item C, FY '25 General Fund Budget Amendment. You all have had this information in your packet that was sent out to you. I'm going to make a motion to open for discussion the FY '25 General Fund Budget Amendment. Can I make that a motion? Do I have a
Second.
Second? All right, thank you, Brantley. I have a second on that. What we have before us is, as I said when we started into the budget process last year in May and June, that it was very likely that we would be coming back with a budget amendment once Shannon got her feet under her, and also did not know at that time, but we were bringing Carson on as finance director. The two of them have done an awful lot of research. I'm telling you, in the last 2 months, they've done a lot of looking. Carson especially, at internal stuff. And because of that, Shannon and Carson have been able to put together a plan and bringing us a brand-new budget amendment. And I believe, Ms. Shannon, you have a slideshow and tell us more about that.
Thank you, Councilmember Baumgardner. I actually have a pretty detailed slideshow that builds into the request, the budget request. I'm noting that we're pretty tight on time. We still have an executive session and there's a BZA meeting following this meeting. So what I may do is abbreviate the presentation to let you know that we've been doing strategic planning as an executive leadership team. That's all the division department heads, Carson and myself. We have met monthly since I began here and have put forth a tremendous effort to identify our strengths, our weaknesses, the opportunities in front of us, the immediate needs, and then to look at the funds as they're sitting currently to come back to you with some recommendations of things that we can do now before the end of the fiscal year that would be very helpful for our operational efficiency and plans going forward. Some of them have recurring costs, and I will go through that now with the Ways and Means Committee. What is a recurring cost, and some of them are one-time expenditures. I will note that as we got into account reconciliation, and Carson has just been amazing with her thorough detail. It's all the funds that you see in the statements that you receive monthly, but how are we utilizing them and when are they expected to be utilized? So we have capital lease funding that it's currently sitting in our accounts that does need to be expended within a year or so. They came in at different times. These are additional proceeds. We received certain capital expenditures less than what was budgeted, and it left for a pretty healthy account balance that we can utilize going forward. And we've worked as a strategic, we've worked as an executive leadership team to identify what would be the most strategic use of these funds if we were to be able to use them now. So what I'll do is not go through this entire presentation, but I will flip through it so you can see the depth and breadth. And then what I'll do is I'll present it to you at first reading next week, and so we can really go through this. But I do want you to see that we have spent a very great amount of time and energy in identifying what it is that we're trying to help accomplish as we look at your recommendations to us. So we did complete a SWOT analysis. We did review council's core values, which were put in the master plan. And I think I'm going to spend just a second here and say we developed both a vision statement and a mission statement. Our vision statement is to inspire active community engagement, exceptional livability, and visionary development through excellent, reliable public services and outstanding city infrastructure. And this is operationally our vision. And then that leads us to our operational mission statement, which is the relentless pursuit of excellence in public service, rooted in our core values and service goals to develop and maintain the confidence of the community members while remaining cutting edge and responsive to community needs. So what we put forth before you tonight in a budget amendment is our first step and recommendation and request to you to pursue this mission statement. I'll go through this in depth, but we have completed a community market analysis. I completed this with assistance from ACOG and GADC, so we have a good understanding of who's here and what we're doing. Out of this, we've created a strategic plan. I'll just run through the initiatives. This is in response to your core values and your goal-setting retreat objectives that you provided us. These initiatives are strong live, work, play sense of community, connectivity, economic development, robust city-sponsored activities and recreation, public safety, and environment and sustainability. We have goals and actions for each of the key initiatives. I've developed an economic development strategic plan as well, focusing on our primary economic drivers and recruitment opportunities, which are retail, service industry, manufacturing, and tourism. Each of the divisions has completed a strategic plan, which is outlined here, and we'll go through those at a later date. I will say this, we have been focusing greatly on recruitment and retention across the city, but we do know that law enforcement, and Captain Kelly gave us a great presentation a few months back, law enforcement in particular nationally struggles with recruitment and retention. So the heavy lifting of this budget amendment does go to to the police force, and what we need to do to allow our men and women in uniform here to be able to do their jobs well and to make them feel comfortable and appreciated, and then also to recruit the best of the best that we can get here at the city going forward. So a fair amount of effort has gone into this plan. Fire as well. I would like to run through just really quickly before I get into asking you for more money or to expend funds in a different way. Some of the things that we've done as a team since I've been here. I really began, February 26th was my hire date, so March to present. We've identified funding for the North Poinsett Highway. We have coalesced as a executive leadership team. We've completed the Furman and Woodlands flat fee agreements. We've hired a fantastic planning director and finance director. We've moved into LGIP and interest-bearing accounts. I have begun regular communication with Chamber of Commerce and merchants to see if we can foster more collaboration and less repetitive services there. Carson has completed account reconciliations across our accounts. We have devised new partnerships with garden clubs and kind of downtown planting and beautification efforts. We've brought in a glass recycling initiative through a grant. We've completed our organizational or operational and departmental strategic planning, and we had our first youth council, which was just a resounding success. So those are just a few of the highlights, and just hope it's a good demonstration of faith of what we're able to do as a team when we work together. Some of the current projects that we have in front of us, and some of this is addressed in the request and some of it's not, but we have the Poinsett and Center Street Improvement Project, the completion of ARPA projects, which I will bring to you an update in December, and we'll have to allocate the remaining funds. Dicey Langston Children's Garden, which is a concept, but starting to gather some steam. The partnerships with the garden clubs, bringing art into public spaces, both through the murals and also we have a fantastic rabbit concept I'll look forward to fleshing out further with you along the Swamp Rabbit Trail with a scavenger hunt in the vein of Mice and Maine, but for TR tourism and just days in the city. We are focused on employee recruitment and retention. We are working with Wendy Lynham to establish a TR-specific destination marketing organization. This is like a convention and business bureau that is focused on TR tourism. We have a robust economic development plan, and then these are the communities that we have underway for development. I'll get into general services, but I would like to create with Carson as the departmental head, a Department of General Services. Under this would be the city clerk, finance, human resources, procurement, grant management, and information technology. We discussed this when you approved the finance director position, but I think this fills it out. We'll do it with our staff that we have in hand now, but it's a lot going on there, and specifically we're looking to bring to you financial policies for your consideration and adoption going forward. It will inform our next budget cycle. Procurement policies and a procurement webpage. Philip mentioned we have put out an RFP on the street and beginning to work with the state's organizations so that we get high quality responses to that. An employee enrichment program, which will be in my line item budget requests. Benefits management and grants management all falls in this department. So we'll kind of build our org chart out a little bit differently, but it's a lot of responsibility, and I'm just so thankful we have the team in place to be able to handle these types of initiatives. So moving into the master lease fund allocation requests, and I'm sorry, the screen's cutting it off a little bit, but we have an availability of funds right now of $635,000. That's after we've done our reconciliation of what needed to be reimbursed to the city, and you all approved moving that into the capital funding. So here's our plan that we would like to enact as quickly as possible. Public Works needs an additional pickup truck. Currently, you see Abe driving around the city in a golf cart. So what we would do is purchase Philip a new truck and allow the other trucks to cycle down so that Abe has a vehicle to drive. He does a significant amount of work and is on call on Saturdays very regularly. We were informed by our accountants that we need a line item budget against this. We'd planned for this in the budget cycle, but we didn't include a line item expenditure line, so for the fire pickup truck. So that's just picking up what you guys have already approved. We do have a need for some new computers. They're sticky and old and not efficient, so we've got a line item for that. Public Works, when we suffered the Hurricane Helene damage, we realized that their facility is not on generator backup. So we were trying to gas up a generator on a regular basis. And we do house animals over there, so we do need to keep it temperate, and we need to keep them working. If nothing else, we learned how valuable they are during our emergencies. So this is a generator that would be a full backup generator. We need to update our fingerprinting scanner and printers. Public Works, if we could purchase this grapple bucket attachment for their tractor, would be able to help clear brush and tree debris for us as well. We've identified a workflow in our lobby where citizens can't make credit card payments. They can make them online, but they can't make them in our lobby. Additionally, you know, we can have citizens come in and perform some work quickly in a kiosk scenario. We can walk them through it, touch screen, and be able to receive their credit card payments. This is both for judicial services, records request, and licensing and permitting. So it's a pretty efficient use. I got with the Greenville County team because we stood these up in the county square and kind of got an estimate on what we could do with this. And we're pretty excited about this for workflow in the front. We do have funding for 2 license plate reader cameras to attach to the speed signs that Chief referenced today. This is modeled out on the Motorola cameras because that's what we were looking at initially. There may be an opportunity to come in a little bit better financially, looking at the flock, depending on what the contracts come out to be. And then finally, and this is important to us, we've spent a lot of time talking with our leadership in the police department and with our employees. We've identified that the model of vehicle we've been purchasing isn't the most comfortable model for them in terms of width in the driver's seat and capability of carrying all the materials that they carry 100% of the time in the vehicle. Additionally, the Ford Explorers that we have, the engines don't like to idle, which is unfortunate because the vast majority of our policing position is in idling, whether they're at a traffic stop or they're, you know, waiting or, you know, responding to events. So we at Chief and I have spent a fair amount of time in Carson as well learning about vehicles that are on the market. The Chargers are no longer going to be manufactured after this year as a police package. So that takes the Dodge Charger out. And we began modeling against various other police units. And what we're finding is the Tahoe actually has the most efficient cost per mile. It has an engine that aspirates, which allows it to breathe while it's idling, which keeps its engine running well and has significant reduction in service call volume afterwards. It also has a V8 engine, which gives it the speed to pick up quickly if they need to pursue a vehicle. And this is the preferred model, and probably equally important to all the other factors I identified. This is the preferred model for recruitment and retention. City of Easley has moved to these. Several other cities have moved to the Tahoes, and so we're requesting 6 Tahoes at $468,000. That still leaves a small balance in the lease funds as well as potentially, you know, coming in a little bit under the budget estimates that we have in play here. That's for the master lease fund allocations. I want to talk to you a little bit about our actuals, and we'll have our auditing is going on now, and of course that'll be done by the end of December. But the growth that you have been experiencing over the last couple of years is kind of coming to fruition in the actuals. And so overall, our revenues came in $1.3 million over the estimated values. This is off of Eric's planning the year before, so remember we're a year back. And I'd like to talk to you about 3 in particular that I think are important. Your ad valorem came in over $379,000. Your business licensure, and the credit here goes to Renee for really working to put in a system that identifies all the businesses, sends notice in a timely manner, and really was able to capture that at the best rate that we've been able to capture it over the time, looking back. $240,000 over, and state insurance fees. We don't really have any control over state insurance fees. That's just remitted to us from the state at $300,000. Our expenditures for last year, we do see that they went over $210,000. I just wanted to put a quick note out here. There was a small salary calculation error in the police and fire. We've talked about that in the past, so that's part of that. And then the dispatch console was budgeted, but the line item only had the $50,000 that the city was contributing to it, not some of the other funding that was coming into place. So that's what's throwing that number over. So it really wasn't as far off the line as we thought. So overall, if you kind of, balance out the expenditure overages with the revenue overages, we see a growth, and we anticipate a growth in our general fund balance of $1.1 million, which you see in your financials. This is to be validated by the audit, obviously, but kind of what we're looking at now. So we come to you with these specific reallocation or allocation requests, and I've listed the recurring expenses at the top. Fire, we have been having a discussion, you've been having a discussion with the fire department for a while now about adding an FTE. I asked them if they would hold that until we got to this budget allocation mid-year so I could get my arms around what was and wasn't coming in. There's a small adjustment for internet, phone, and fiber charges. That's just the cost of the contracts nowadays. A small adjustment for animal care fees. We've had some visitors, unfortunately, that we've had a few more to pay for. Our municipal court, Jasmine, Judge Twitty, is on call 24 hours, 2 weeks out of the month. That's an unsustainable schedule. So what I've included here is both the cost of the increase in contract value for Judge Hand, which you approved last meeting, and hiring a night judge to cover 2 of those weeks. We already have 1 night judge covering 2 weeks, and that would mean Jasmine would just go on call when needed to cover vacations, holidays, and things of that nature, but she would be mostly an 8 to 5 employee. She is compensated on trips that are done in the middle of the night, but she's still expected to be here and working 8 to 5, and I've spent now 8 months watching the schedule, and I just think that this is inhumane, and I would like to go in this direction. We've been talking about traffic. This is probably the primary enforcement that we do in policing is traffic. It's the opportunity to slow people down, keep it safe on the streets, but also to capture the drug trafficking. And so what we've included in here is some part-time money. Teresa Howard, Teresa, you still with us? Woo! She's a trooper. Teresa Howard is our victims advocate, but in having conversation with her the other day, I was very pleased to understand that she's actually comes from a background in dispatch. So we talked to Teresa about whether she'd be willing to pick up a few additional hours and help us work the traffic team, because what we know with traffic team is that they're going to need a dispatcher who's just taking those calls so that we have a dispatcher who's taking the typical day-to-day business as well. When we work as a traffic team intentionally, and this is something we want to build into on the policing side of things, we just need a little bit more support back there. Teresa would be able to do that. And then also this would help with some of our overtime, because we could utilize her for scheduling absences, holidays, things of that nature. So that's in here. We've got a new line item I'd like to call city-sponsored events. These are not hospitality or accommodations events, but they're events that are important to the residents of the city and coming through Beth's office. One thing that we're looking at is the possibility of doing a drone show for 4th of July. We can't do fireworks. We hear you, Mac. We got you. No fireworks, but we thought there might be some ways to do some really engaging and exciting things. And so this is a line item that we can talk about year over year, but the drone show is about $40,000, and then you've got the bathrooms and things of that nature. We don't anticipate that it's really going to drive traffic down here immediately, but we're looking at that opportunity. We would like to initiate an employee wellness program where, and we think lunch and learn, but breakfast and learn, so that our shift workers, when they roll off, would only stay for a small period of time before they go into it. A once a month rotating wellness attribute. So we have December 10th lined up for mental health, and Chief has found an amazing new program. It's free for first responders. We're looking at, what we can do for the rest of our employees, but where folks can anonymously take a survey, and it comes back and recommends whether they should see a clinician or some other reference materials. So we'll kick it off with Patty Graham, who's well-known in the first responder mental health space, doing a presentation. We want to provide breakfast for those who stay. That's the $5,500 here. What we'd like to do, and we'll bring this to you in budgeting time, but what we'd like to do is see if there's an opportunity to reduce employee contributions to their benefit package if they attend, let's say, 7 out of the 12. And it will be finance, it will be, cardiac health, varying health disciplines that we bring forth. We did include a line item for recreation maintenance. I know that's up for discussion with council next month, but per what's going on with the county's discussions. But I did want you to see this. This is from the county. This is what they pay for their contracts to cut the grass and keep the parks operating, including the small bit of operating revenue that is deducted out of this amount for park rentals. that's the recurring, and so the budget request, the budget ordinance just shows your FY25 line, but I did want you to see the recurring expenses, and those recurring expenses, if you go back to the overages, are less than the ad valorem growth. So we feel like that's a very conservative and reasonable request to make there. One-time expenses, we talked about doing an employee longevity stipend, and what we would be proposing is $1,000 for each employee who's been here over a year. It would be $500 for those who have been here 6 months to less than a year, and $250 for those 3 months to 6 months. And we don't think we can give much of a longevity stipend for less than 3 months at this point. But we did not do merit increases in our last budget. We only did the 4% COLA. And we are rolling to a June review process. So all of our departments, instead of doing it on your anniversary birthday, which is constant going throughout the year, it's easy to miss, we're going to do a June review. It's going to cycle through Carson in the HR component. We'll keep records of it, and then any merit raises that are approved through the budgeting process that would go into place in July would be ready to go in. So we think that this is a great way to make sure employees are still getting a financial growth here. It's a one-time expense, though, because we would look at also putting into place a compensation study. We think this is necessary as we're looking at the recruitment challenge in policing, and we're looking at salaries of other cities. We think it's vital to bring in a professional to come in and do the compensation study, and that will include training for us to continue to do our own compensation studies in-house for a period of time, so it stays relevant for a while. So we've got a compensation study in there. Tanya's records have taken over all the floor space that we have to give her. Floor space is expensive when you talk about square footage. So I've got a line item in here to begin records digitization for the court records there. Carson and I have been meeting with our financial planners, and there's an opportunity to purchase a 5-year financial model that would cover all of our funds. It's an Excel spreadsheet. It's interactive. We can then, on the fly, in council meetings, plug in anything that we're considering for future projects, whether it's in the capital fund or in the general fund, and get a projection that takes us out to what we think our health funds will look, our fund health will look like for the next 5 years. This is something that we think that once we purchase, we can maintain it for a period of time without having them come back in. So it annualizes to about $5,000 a year if it's a 5-year plan, but we think we could take it further than that once we understand the modeling. We mentioned that Officer Kraft drew up some new badges for the police. This is something they've requested. It's very beautiful. It's very traditional. Looks like a beautiful police badge. And again, it falls in that recruitment and retention opportunity. We've got some adjustments in here for overtime for Helene. Fire and Public Works is just adjustments for overtime for Helene. Police, we have been understaffed and we have had to work more overtime. So this gets us to where we think we can manage it for the rest of the year. We needed to buy a new bite suit for our K-9. You cannot have a K-9 officer that's not being trained. And Officer Kraft did have a skin break, and so it was time for us to upgrade the bite suit. So we are doing that as well, or requesting that. And then we are kind of fixing our line item for street maintenance, which is what we use to cover the tree cleanup in the immediate. And then also Greater Greenville Sanitation contacted us, and they're very apologetic, but apparently they have not charged us for the past 12 months for debris pickup. So we got a bill for $12,000, $9,000, but was the year before, and then the $3,000 is where we are now. So that's already in our budget, but we need to go back and pay that. So the total reallocation fund request from fund balance is $393,000. That still leaves $709,000 of the 1.1 that we identified that we believe is what we're sitting over. At this point, are there any questions?
That's a lot.
It is a lot.
Let me make a couple statements along this, because the three of us, Carson, Shannon, and I have been in great discussion about this actually for a couple months, that I'm real impressed with this leadership team that Shannon has put together. I mean, this is great for within the city, and I can tell you that they are dedicated to their own departments and the city as a whole, and that recruitment, and I know this through the conversations that I've had, that recruitment and most importantly retention is important within our staff. And Wayne, I know that's something that's really keen on your mind and has been for years, that the retention part is just huge. So that is being considered and highly considered in all of this, which brings me to, that's why so much of this is in here for police especially. I think we all can agree that we have been lacking in our, not so much our recruitment efforts, but our retention efforts over the last several years within our own police department. So they took a very, very long, hard look at themselves, came up with some recommendations, which Shannon has brought to us, which I think are absolutely excellent. Part of the reason that we're in this problem right now is that previously, in the previous year, Eric and I underestimated, not necessarily purposely, but the revenues were simply underestimated for previous years. Therefore, when Shannon began looking at what she was going to do with this budget, she did not have good solid figures to be able to work with. Now that she's been in there and with Carson's help, they've got a great grasp on what's actually going on, which is why we've had this now nice problem of having an increase in our fund balance. Wayne, I'll speak to this also because I know that you were concerned back, if you would, could you take us back to the, oh, you're already on it, the reoccurring expenses line. Right down here on the bottom, I know that we've been talking about bringing on the park system, and I can guarantee you one of the first things, Shannon will tell you this, when we started this conversation, one of my first concerns is, if we're going to bring on these parks, how are we going to ensure that we're going to be able to continue to maintain them, to put the people there that need to get them so that we can keep them the way that they need to be kept, whether it's the way that the county has kept them or not, I'm not going to go on to that discussion, but it's whether or not we're going to be able to maintain them correctly. She's saying that $75,000 is what's left to be able to do that this year, and these are using directly the contracts that the county is already using, which then translates over to about $150,000 worth of recurring expense in next year's budget. I can assure you that that number, actually this full $338,000 that you've got in front of you, is a budgetable item that we can carry into next year that is not going to require any sort of an increase in our revenues. This is simply because that number is covered because we shorted ourselves. Eric and I shorted us on what we thought revenues were actually going to be. So I can tell you with my trust that I was concerned that where is all this coming from? The money is already there. So even if we don't grow, if our revenues didn't grow a single dollar next year or the year after, this can all be included because it's already within the growth that we already have within that, okay? So that all being said, I'll open this up. This is for, I'm not going to just make this for committee. All of council is welcome to ask questions of myself or Shannon.
And Councilmember Baumgartner, I'll just also put in there that a lot of that growth is Pinestone rolling on, some of the new construction that's rolling onto the rolls too. So you know, it just takes a minute to see it after you see it pop out of the ground to show up in your coffers.
Shannon, sorry if I missed this. For the remaining balance of, I guess, $700,000, what are you thinking for that? Just sit, hold it for Poinsett?
I think it, you know, it sits in the fund balance, and then I think we can spend some time, you know, considering what needs are in front of us. We're not going to have ARPA ever again, probably. Right. You know, so when we're emptying out our capital account for a significant project like Poinsett, this begins to build that back up. I think, you know, there will probably be additional growth. You know, the discussion with fire has been adding one person per shift, so there's still another shift to do. So I think, you know, this just absorbs future growth. It can sit in the general fund, and we would make a recommendation at our next budget cycle to you.
Great. Thank you so much.
I just want to say,
it earns interest while it's sitting in there.
Yes. I just want to say, I think this is amazing, and I love how you're also taking focus of staff and making sure health and wellness and just all the time. So bravo to the team.
Agree. Yeah.
Just a side note, with the parks, I know we've talked about different items to consider. Other than maintenance, is there another cost that may need to be added, like insurance, personnel to take care of it? Has that been factored in?
Councilmember Mara, at the moment, no, because it's not getting that right now. It's not really programmed. It's only programmed through contracts. And so I think there's an opportunity. It's underutilized. We know the parks here are underutilized. So there's the opportunity to advance programming, but we don't have to right away. It could sit exactly as it is as we make a plan for that. I will tell you, I have a meeting next week with the YMCA to explore whether there's a partnership opportunity for them to program the fields, and to see what that would look like us for financially, and just in terms of the residents using the parks more. Then, of course, it can grow to whatever level council wants it to grow to. But I think we can feel confident in saying for $150,000, we can maintain them at the level that they currently exist. And then we can dream from there based on the resources that are at hand.
Thank you.
I think this feels very smart. I agree with Shanice, very thoughtful. I kind of do want you to give us all the things maybe later when it's not been so late, but I think it was a smart use of addressing the needs that we have now that might have been different a year ago when we were budgeting, but also thinking forward and still holding some of that in the general reserve. So sounds good to me.
This has just been this is the reason that we brought Carson on and put her in the position. I didn't understand, and you got to remember, I've done this Ways and Means things now for several years. I had no understanding of what that finance position could do. This is what that finance position can do. She has reconciled the capital lease stuff that was there and was all in front of us. It just wasn't reconciled enough. She was able to put it all together. Look at what we're able to do with all that. And the other part of that is this is money that if we don't spend it, we're going to end up losing it anyway. So we got to get it spent if we're going to do something with it. This is just a smart way of doing all of this, in my opinion.
Can the fire overtime from Helene be reimbursed through FEMA?
Councilmember Byers, yes. The reimbursements will come from FEMA. In my experience, they take about 3 years to come in. So obviously, we can't budget on that. When they come in, it'll be a boon to the coffers at that point. Carson and I would like to propose to you in our next budget cycle a contingency fund, which I think we already have the ability to start. And that contingency fund would be utilized only for emergencies such as Helene, so you can wait for the reimbursements and it never hits your operational line. So what you see in here are these adjustments are what's hitting our operational lines per the current budgeting plan. But in the future, we feel really confident that we have a great plan for you to say that shouldn't happen again, barring some really huge disaster, in which case we're all going to have to be scrambling anyway.
So along those lines, one of the big things that's in here is there's $35,000 for tree debris cleanup and removal. If it's 3 years before we get that $35,000 back, we got $35,000 right there that we can use and or put it right directly into a fund as she's talking about, and it's sitting there for use at some other point as we need it. We're in a great position right now to be able to cover that. That's the main point about this. Any other thoughts that anybody would like to say? All right, hearing none, we do have a motion and a second on the floor from the committee. Do I like to see it show hands to go ahead and move this on to council? Opposed? All right, we've got it on. It's going on. Thank you all for that. I am finished with Ways and Means.
All right. Thank
Motion
you.
to
Anna.
adjourn.
Second. All right, great. Well, now we will move into our Personnel Committee. I will pass over to Chair Chris.
Thank you so much. So part of the Personnel Committee is Mayor Brandy Amadon, Council Members Grant Boomgarner, Kelly Byers, Wayne McCall, and Brantley Vest. So I'm going to ask for a motion to enter executive session to discuss employment, compensation, and appointment agreement for fire chief position.
I'll move that.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, so at this point, we're going to go to executive session, and then we'll come back.
And for our guest, if you've not been here before, executive session, so we will not make any motions or anything in executive session. We don't know how long it's going to be. So you can hang out here. Maybe it'll be 5 minutes, maybe 30. I don't know. But just know, as you decide to hang out, you are please welcome. And then we will, after our conversation, we'll come out here, and if there's any formal yays or nays that happen, we'll do it here from a transparency standpoint. But otherwise, we appreciate you all coming.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Ooh,
All right.
I gotta say it again?
Turn it back on. Yeah, we didn't.
I gotta do it again. The Personnel Committee went into executive session and met to discuss employment compensation and appointment agreement for fire chief position, and no action was taken. Do I have a motion to adjourn the executive session?
Second.
Thank
I
you.
think the last we had on was any city administrative update from you, anything to kind of share?
Oh.
We could sit if we needed to, yeah.
Mayor Ramadan,
that
thank you. I
budget.
think I've had a fair share of the discussion tonight, so
Done
we'll
great,
leave it,
yeah.
we'll leave it there.
Okay, does anyone else have anything for the good of council? I don't want to not mention and put on record that the House Mortuary that Catherine, James, and I went to, their Veterans Day presentation and honoring of the veterans, it was beautiful and very well done. So if you know the House guys, if you'll please tell them thank you, and also thank you to our police and fire. Our fire put up the flag, which was really beautiful, and so it was just a really very sweet day, so appreciate that. Anyone else? Motion to adjourn. Second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you guys for staying so late. I appreciate it.